Hello students. So today you are going to learn lesson number 10, respiration in organism. This lesson is from class 7th. So you are going to learn about the respiration. This process is most important. Maybe you have learned in your previous class the 7 important processes of the human beings. So in all those processes, this one is the important life process which is called as respiration. And you know that the breathing part is most important in our daily life. And in our book, one example is given that one day Bhujo was eagerly waiting to meet his grandparents who were coming to the town after a year. He was in a real hurry as he wanted to receive them at the bus stop. He ran fast and reached the bus stop in few minutes. He was breathing rapidly. His grandparents asked him why he was breathing so fast. Bhujo told her that he came running all the way. But the question got stuck in his mind. He wondered why running makes a person breathe faster. The answer to Bhujo's question lies in understanding why we breathe. Breathe is the part of respiration. So let us learn about respiration. Now, here is the first point that why do we respire? Now, see here, we respire to get energy from food. Now, before this, we were knowing that we respire for living and breathing is the part of respiration. But if we learn it properly, why do we respire? We respire to get energy from the food. So, after the respiration, the food is get converted into energy. So this is most important, and we know that we eat food to get the energy. Food contains stored energy. When we respire, the food is broken down in the cells of our body with the help of oxygen and energy is released. So in here, why do we respire? What will be the answer of this question? So the answer is we respire to get the energy. So from where we get the energy? So we get energy from the food, and food also has energy, but that energy is in stored format, in the stored form, and that energy which is in stored form can be get converted in a proper energy which we use for the activities, and for that food must be broken down. So the food will broken down in the cell and of our body, and for this process the oxygen helps and the energy is released. So throughout the process oxygen is most important, and when we respire at that time, that oxygen goes in our body through the nose and it reaches to the every cell, and the cells which are breaking down the glucose from the food, those use the oxygen and then energy can be released. Now the respiration, so what is the meaning of the respiration? What is the definition of the respiration? So respiration is the process by which food means in the food there is glucose, so that glucose is broken down in the cells of the body. How? With the help of oxygen, and then energy released. Now see here, to release the energy, the food must be broken down, and this breaking down of food or breaking down of glucose is taken place in the cells of the body, and that process done with the help of oxygen. And when we breathe, when we inhale the air, that time this oxygen goes in the body in the cell, and when the oxygen reaches to the cell, then the cell starts preparing the energy. Since the respiration takes place in the cells of the body, it is called as cellular respiration. Now see here, the respiration takes place inside the cell, that's why it is called as cellular respiration. So what happens in the cellular respiration? Glucose, we can say food, but here proper word glucose because from the food the glucose get absorbed in the body. So that glucose when reached in the cell, it get broken down with the help of oxygen, and when it get broken down, there is a formation of carbon dioxide, water and energy. Now you can see here the carbon dioxide we breathe out, means we exhale, and when we do the breathing process, at that time we take oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide, how it come from our body? So through the respiration this carbon dioxide will come out from the body, and it is get prepared in the cellular respiration. It is a byproduct of the cellular respiration. Here you can see C6H12O6. This is the molecular formula of glucose, and when the glucose is broken down with the help of oxygen, there is the formation of CO2, H2O and energy. Types of respiration. Now you can see here types of respirations. There are two types of respirations. First one is aerobic respiration, another one is anaerobic respiration. Now see here, in the aerobic respiration the oxygen is important. You can see here in the reaction the presence of oxygen is there, and here in anaerobic respiration there is absence of oxygen or lack of oxygen. So aerobic respiration, the respiration in which glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen. Now see, in both the respiration glucose is broken down, but in aerobic respiration there is a presence of oxygen to release carbon dioxide, water and energy, and it takes place in most organisms. So glucose in the presence of oxygen, it breaks down, and then carbon dioxide, water, energies get prepared. So this is the product of aerobic respiration. Now what is anaerobic respiration? Again we will see the definition. Anaerobic respiration is the respiration in which glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen. So here the oxygen is absent to release. Now see here, in here what is get released? Alcohol, carbon dioxide and energy. If we compare this aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, so in aerobic respiration water, and here in anaerobic respiration there is a alcohol. Aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. In anaerobic respiration, in our muscle cells, glucose is broken down in absence of oxygen to release lactic acid and energy. So in our muscle cells, this anaerobic respiration takes place sometimes when we do heavy exercise at that time, because if there is a lack of oxygen, then at that time in our muscle cells anaerobic respiration takes place, because here glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen, and there is a formation of lactic acid and energy. So this lactic acid formation takes place in the muscle cells, in which respiration? In anaerobic respiration. So lactic acid is get produced in the human muscle cells in anaerobic respiration. Now here you can see breathing. What is breathing? Breathing is the process by which oxygen rich air is taken in and carbon dioxide rich air is given out with the help of respiratory organs. Very simple process. When we take air inside our body and when we give out some air from our body. So now here breathing is the process. So in breathing, oxygen rich air. Now oxygen rich air means the air which has a lot of amount of oxygen. So that is called as oxygen rich air. Taken in means we take inside our body. And the carbon dioxide rich air means the air which has more amount of carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide rich air is given out from our body with the help of respiratory organs. So respiratory organs are there, lungs, nose, these are the respiratory organs. The taking in of air rich in oxygen is called as inhalation. Now inhalation, in means inside, inhalation means taking taking in of air rich in oxygen means when oxygen rich air we take inside our body, that process is called as inhalation. And when we give out carbon dioxide rich air from our body, which is called as exhalation. Now see here, inhalation means taking oxygen rich air inside the body, and exhalation means giving out air which is rich in carbon dioxide from the body. Now breathing rate. So how can we calculate the breathing rate? So breathing rate is nothing but the number of times a person breathes in a minute is called as breathing rate. Means in a 1 minute how much times a person can breathe. That number of times or that number of breaths in a minute per minute is called as breathing rate. When a person needs more energy, he breathes faster, more oxygen is supplied to the cells, more food is broken down, and more energy is released. Here you can see the person is sleeping. So when the person is sleeping, at that time energy required but not more, less energy. So when the person do activity, now the person is walking, here the person is running, so here the energy required more in this case. So when the energy required more, the person breathes fast and more oxygen is supplied to our body, to our cells. And when more oxygen is supplied, at that time more food is broken down and more energy is released.